Good evening. Can everyone please take their seats? We're about to get started, folks. Please quiet down. Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the June 10, 2025 meeting of the Milford Zoning Board of Appeals. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Montano is excused. Mr. Dubois?
Here.
Mr. Enig?
Here.
Ms. Hirsch?
Here.
Mr. King?
Here.
Mr. Soda?
Here.
Mr. Wolf?
Here.
And Chairwoman Ferrante.
Here. Okay, voting tonight in Mr. Montano's place will be Ms. Hirsch. And for item number 1, Mr. Wolf will be recusing himself. Voting in his place will be Mr. Einig. All right, before we move forward, I know that we have a full agenda and a lot of interested parties in the room. So I just want to state that everyone wishing to speak during the public comment will be heard. However, we will be limiting public comment to a single 3-minute statement from each individual. No second times at the microphones, no rebuttal, no in excess of 3 minutes, please. And try to refrain from repeating anything that we've already heard in order to get through all individuals wishing to speak tonight. All right, so with that, moving forward, Mr. Wolf? Yep. And item number 1, Ms. Hirsch.
171 3rd Avenue on an amended application, MBP 27/475/9 R10, Thomas Lynch, Esquire, for Timothy and Danielle Romano, owners, to vary section 3.1.4.1, front yard setback to 20.3 feet where 25 required, southerly side yard setback, to 3.6 feet where 7.2 and 7.2 where 10 required, northerly side yard setback to 3 feet where 10 required, lot coverage from 50% permitted to 57% proposed, building coverage from 35% permitted to 53.16% proposed, section 4.1.4, rear yard projection to 8.1 feet where 21 feet permitted, front yard projection to 14.2 feet where 21 feet permitted, 6.3.2, expansion of non-conforming structure, both vertically and laterally, all to construct a new single-family residence, survey by W. Skid on 5/20/2025.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. Just for the record, my name is Thomas Lynch. I'm an attorney with the law firm Lynch, Trimbicki, and Boynton. My office is at 63 Cherry Street. And that is quite a mouthful that Carmina read into the record. But I'm going to touch base on how this house that's proposed at 171 3rd Avenue is not appreciably larger than the house that is currently on site. So just by way of background, the property is located in the Laurel Beach section of Milford. My clients purchased the property in 2023. Stephen has, I think, the existing conditions on the screen. And in terms of the lots, my clients actually own 2 lots. They're 2 non-conforming lots that have been certified as such by the zoning office. The application before you tonight is for a development of a new house on 171 3rd Avenue. My clients also own the lot at 172 3rd Avenue, which currently has a detached garage. And between the 2 lots is the reserved passway from the 1901 map of Laurel Beach, the subdivision map of Laurel Beach. So there is a passway that actually traverses between the 2 lots. So it creates a situation where we have 2 lots that are basically 3,400 square feet in size in zone R10. So right at the outset, I want to stress to you that this is a non-conforming lot. Any house that would be built on this lot, because of the upgrade of the zoning regulations over the years, so that this is now located in zone classification R10, any house built on this lot would require variances. So right at the outset, I want to stress that's our hardship. We have a non-conforming lot that's small in size. The existing house is non-conforming in terms of setbacks on both sides, in terms of the front yard and the rear yard, as well as the building coverage. So we're starting off here with discussion about a parcel of land that has a house on it that's non-conforming. What do my clients want to do here? They moved here in 2023. They bought this property. They intend to reside in Laurel Beach, raise their children. Tim and Danielle are here with me tonight with their 2 young children. And they want to make a major improvement to the area by building a very aesthetically pleasing house that does not increase the nonconformities that are on site now. The major addition, or the major part of the construction, if you look at the proposed, scroll, if we can scroll to the, okay, if we can look at the proposed plan, is basically to square the house off. Right now, there's a first floor addition in the rear of the parcel that has a very small setback from the side yard. It's 3.4 inches from the southerly side yard. The house will be constructed such that that setback will be maintained actually 2 inches with a larger setback of 2 inches, traversing then to the front section of the property, so there will be a 7.2 foot setback where 10 feet is required. The other variances that we're seeking are merely expanding the non-conforming structure. There's a front stoop, there's a rear access area necessitating a projection variance. The northerly setback is going to maintain the same setback as the existing house. So I submit to you that we are not increasing the nonconformity. We are just squaring off the house. And I have to be honest with you, this matter has been on your agenda since February. My clients have met many times with representatives of the Laurel Beach Association. They've revised the plans numerous times. Their house designer, Joe Rousseau, is here with me tonight, and he can touch base on the particular amendments that he made to the plan. But this is a very much scaled back version of what was originally going to come before you. There was going to be a covered portico on the front porch because of concerns of some of the neighbors of infringing on the water view going down towards Long Island Sound. The columns and the overhang have been reduced. So right now there's an open front porch. The other concern was that the front yard setback was slightly with the steps and the house itself, slightly closer to 3rd Avenue. We've cut the house back so that right now the existing house has a 20-foot setback in the R10 zone where you need 25 feet. The existing house has that setback. This is virtually the same setback with the new house. The request that goes beyond it is with the projection for the front stoops. But like I said, after discussion with the members of Laurel Beach, and there's a good number of them here, obviously, that are going to speak tonight, but my clients, in all good faith, met with representatives of the board. They've been very cognizant of the comments that the board has made, and the plan that's before you reflects that. This is going to be a 2-story colonial with a 3rd floor of living space. The square footage on it is going to be some 4,200 square feet. There's no, as I said, no increase of the footprint other than squaring off the back. And, many discussions has been had with the neighbors. They made plans and revised plans pursuant to discussions with the neighbors. And now, once the plans were submitted, there's a flurry of letters that you've seen on your website, people saying that this is going to be a overbuild, it's going to block water views. We contend that it's not going to block anybody's water view. The house is zoning compliant in terms of its height, and the one concern that two of the adjacent neighbors had as it relates to the water view going down 3rd Avenue to the water, that was addressed with the front portico. My client sent me an email this morning, and I just want to read it into the record. He said, here are the key concessions we made after the February meeting framed for tonight's argument. Number one, the front steps. We removed the stairs, roof, and columns entirely. The new open staircase is only 4 feet 5 inches high. FEMA requires us to elevate it. With a simple railing, it blocks no views. Number two, the interior space. We indented the front of the house to recess the stairs, sacrificing livable space from our already very narrow 10-foot wide family room. Number three, the side setbacks. Our plan extends the existing rear addition forward, but it does so as a thoughtful improvement to the property's worst nonconformity. Because the lot is pie-shaped, the tightest setback is at the rear corner of the house, as I mentioned. Our new design is 1 inch narrower at this critical point, meaning we are actually giving back space and improving the most non-conforming feature of the property. As the addition moves forward into the wider part of the lot, the setback naturally increases even more. Item number four, rear setback and shifting opposition. We completely reoriented the rear stairs to be parallel to the house, significantly increasing the rear setback. These are also minimal open-air stairs with no roof or columns. At the February meeting, we were explicitly told by the Laurel Beach Association that they, quote, had no problem with the rear stairs, and no letters of opposition mentioned them at that time. This has now inexplicably become a major point of their opposition, even though we have voluntarily made neighbor-friendly changes to it. So I submit to you that, again, we can have Stephen go through the elevations of the house. The house is a Nantucket style colonial. It's consistent with the new construction of homes in the Laurel Beach area. It's consistent with any improved area or high-end home that is located in waterfront areas. And I think the pictures speak for themselves. I mean, this is a beautiful house, and we feel that it's a reasonable request here. Again, the hardship lies in the small size of the lot, the fact that the lot is non-conforming, and also the fact that these plans, they do reflect a major enhancement to the property. There's letters of support that have been submitted on your website. I had 4 more letters that I'm going to give to Meg right now that came into my office between 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock. I think there's some 13 letters from property owners who are in support of this application. And the sort of the replete comment in all of these letters is that this will be a major improvement. The house now is unsightly. My clients intend to turn that unsightly house into a beautiful home that'll be an addition to the Laurel Beach neighborhood. And the last point that I wanted to leave with you is the fact that these are not people who are coming in to buy up a piece of property and develop it. These are people who live here. These are people who live in this house, and they are Laurel Beach neighbors. And to have behind me here a large group of their neighbors that are opposing this, it befuddles me, to be perfectly honest with you. And if necessary, I'll have further comments after comments made by the neighbors. But if I can, I'd like to give these letters. Right now, there's a letter from Taylor and Colby Nolan. There's a letter from Alexander Montanero, a letter from Nick Ambrosecchio, and a letter from Brad Gaglione. So I'd like to submit those.
Rob Testo from Laurel Beach.
I didn't see that.
He came in.
Okay.
Said it right before this.
Thank you. Looks like we already have 2 of those 4, but we'll take the rest.
So that's the extent of our presentation to you. If you have any questions, again, Joe Rousseau is here. He can discuss with you if you want to know what measures he took to try to amend these plans. If that's something that you'd like to entertain, he'd be happy to do that. So it's the board's pleasure.
All right, Mr. Soda.
Attorney Lynch, how many houses from the water is it?
It's 4, 3 in on 3rd Avenue, but 4 if you count the home on Sea.
Okay. Have you,
And can I just state for the record that that comment was, if it was picked up by Meg's microphone, it was made by the applicant, Timothy Romano. His address is 171 3rd Avenue.
have you tried to relocate the right-of-way between the houses to the other side of that extra lot and then run it across the back of it and then up and then combine the 2 lots?
That would be an impossibility. Yeah, it's deeded. It's on the original subdivision map. So the Laurel Beach Board would have to vote to abandon that passway, and the chances of that are...
Well, you're not abandoning it, you're relocating it.
Yeah, the chances of that are pretty slim.
How wide's that right-of-way?
10 feet?
10 feet?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all they...
No.
Attorney Lynch, how are you this evening?
Good, Andrew.
You said this was a hardship. Now, I'm looking at the ground floor area of the current house, so that's about 1,500 square foot ground floor area.
Right.
Why is it a hardship?
The hardship lies as to the requested variances because of the fact that it's a non-conforming lot. So in the R10 zone, for the side yards, so to speak, you need to have 10 feet on each side, and right now you have 3 feet and you have 3 feet. So that, and this board has sought fit to grant variances on a regular basis when there's non-conforming lots and you're proposing a structure that doesn't appreciably increase the footprint.
But it seems like you could build a substantial house without increasing the footprint whatsoever.
Well, that's not true because the zoning office considers any buildup to be expanding a non-conforming structure. So, you know, if they wanted to rebuild what was there, it would be just the small 2-story.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be expanding the lot coverage by doing that.
We're not expanding the lot coverage now. Virtually 3%, I think it is. It's a very
I'm looking at your plans. I see existing 41.95.
The building coverage or the lot coverage? I'm sorry. I
The
didn't
lot
hear.
coverage is increasing 15%. The building coverage is increasing 11%.
Okay. Well, again, because of the nonconformity of the lot.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Attorney Lynch, the new house is 29 feet 5 inches wide. How
Correct.
wide was the old house?
That's a good question. Joe? 22 feet. Yep.
In the rear is 29.
So it's 29 in the rear,
29
22
in
in
the
the
rear.
front, right. It's a pie-shaped sort of lot, so it's, you know, it actually widens out as you go forward.
I have a question.
Yep.
So am I correct that the setback variances are really not changing from what they currently are?
Correct.
And really the variance comes down to the coverage ones,
The
correct?
coverage
Those-
and the additional floor of living space, correct, which is zoning compliant. That's not part of our application.
And a second question, I'm looking at the drawing and it shows the Bilco door encroaching on the walkway. Is that, who owns the passway?
The passway is owned by the Laurel Beach Association.
So is that allowed then to have, Stephen, to have the Bilco door on their property?
That's a good catch. No, that Bilko door can't be, can't, excuse me.
It's not on the
Excuse
the
me.
renderings, it's just on the,
Madam Chair,
That's on the
Mr.
existing
Heaney is
structure.
asking
All
me
right,
a
hold on.
question.
Everyone, please.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Mr. Harris.
Okay. Mr. Heaney is asking me about the Bilko. That's a good catch. The Bilko will have to be either reduced back to the boundary of that passway or relocated.
Right. So it would be removed.
okay, it's not on the building elevations, but it's on the map.
It's on the existing conditions map. So right now, the existing house, the Bilko door has a slight encroachment in the passway. With any development that we're going to do, that will be removed.
That will be removed.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Before we continue, Mr. Einig, just a point of clarification. All of the variances requested in this application are legitimate. Things are changing. The front yard setback is the house is expanding. They're asking for the house to be wider than is existing, so that requires the front yard variance request. The side yard is expanding. They're asking for that encroachment to expand all the way from the back of the house to the front of the house. That is something new. Building in these spaces without these requests they would have to respect the zoning regulations. So it's incorrect to say that things are not changing.
Well, can I just amend my comment?
Sure.
So let's talk about the front yard setback. Right now, the front yard setback is currently 20 feet 6 inches, and the proposed is 20 feet 3 inches. So in other words, because we're expanding a non-conforming use, we have to meet the 25 feet, but it's a greater setback than,
But you're expanding it to the south side significantly. What is that, 10 feet?
that's the major expansion of the house, is the addition on the south, on the east side, I
Right.
should say, right?
Yes.
So that squares off the house and brings it forward. But the rear yard setback and the existing rear yard and front yard setbacks are both non-conforming.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And I've used the term, they're not appreciably changed. In my mind, they're not appreciably changed. The only thing
I
was,
think that's a matter of opinion.
well, the building coverage,
Building coverage
Right.
is significant, lot coverage is significant. The width of the house coming into the side yard all the way from the back to the front is significant. Yes, the front of the house is not going beyond where it currently exists, but more of it is up to that line. The rear of the house is not going further back than exists. That is true.
okay.
And, there's a minimal projection in the back, I would
Right.
say. Okay, any other questions? Yeah.
Is this a remodel, or are you tearing it down and building new?
Tear down and rebuild.
Building new?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Before I ask if anyone is speaking in favor of this application, anyone interested in speaking should form a line behind the podium. We will come up one at a time. You'll need to state your name and your address for the record. And please remember that public comment is limited to 3 minutes and 1 appearance per individual. So if anyone is speaking in favor of this application, please approach.
Thank you.
And please feel free to adjust the microphone up so we can all hear clearly.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Tim Romano of 218 3rd Avenue. Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board. Before I begin, I must say it is a bit surreal standing up here, as I have watched probably the last 2.5 years of every single meeting that you've had. So I think my YouTube algorithm thinks that you're my favorite streaming series. So, but all kidding aside, that experience gave me an appreciation for the hard work that you all do as volunteers, and I want to sincerely thank you for that. I'd also like to thank Meg Green and Stephen Harris for their patient guidance throughout this whole process. My wife is here with me, as are my son, Miro, and our daughter, Vivian. 3-year-old and 1. We've lived on this very street for 6 years. Our children were literally born inside of our house on this street. We're asking you tonight for permission to build our forever home here. We're not trying to change the character of the neighborhood. Our family is a part of the character of this neighborhood. During our years on the street, we came to know the property at 171 3rd Avenue as the Butler family home, a home they cherished for many, many years. Like many neighbors, we watched with compassion as the challenges of their later years made it more difficult for them to maintain the home they loved. The property's condition was never a reflection of them as people, only the difficult circumstances that life can bring. We were incredibly honored when the Butlers chose us over other interested parties, double-digit parties who were interested in purchasing the property. We were so honored when they chose us to be the stewards of their property. It truly felt like a torch was being passed to us. And while we honor the property's past, we also see it as a unique opportunity, a chance to take a uniquely challenging lot and create a truly beautiful home that adds character to the street that we love so much. This is the home that we want to build for our children, Miro and Vivian, and hopefully more to come. We know that this has been a long process, and we thank the neighbors who met with us, and we hope that the significant changes that we made to the plan show our commitment to being a positive addition to this community that we are already so deeply a part of. This project is about our family's future on the street we love. We are deeply committed to this community, and we respectfully ask for your approval so that we can be the best possible stewards of this property for decades to come. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening, Tim Romano Sr., Tim's dad, Danielle's father-in-law, and beautiful grandchildren of mine. I live in Westport on 25 Waterside Terrace. I knew they were in for a struggle when they bought this house. I've been through this. I'm a builder, contractor for 45 years. I understand, as I'm sure you people do as well, change gets people nervous. It's human nature. I ask the people here that are opposed to just be open-minded and realize that the yellow outline there, the added-on portion, I guess they changed it. It's along the side facing a home, is not going to impede on anyone's view whatsoever unless they're looking back away from the water. I know they've made quite a few concessions, which is, I think, pretty normal if you want to succeed and get somewhere in the middle. The front steps, talking to my son, have been an issue with one or two of the neighbors, and I believe the top step will be at elevation 14. So if you're in a house nearby and your house is at 12 and a half, which is basically the law down by the water, I believe, if you're sitting in a chair, you'll be looking down at the stairs. So to the people that are concerned with that, I hope they understand that a simple set of front stairs should not get them alarmed. I'm hoping. I don't really see anyone losing any views. If they were, I could completely understand with their concerns. I think they're been very, very reasonable in asking for what they're asking for now. They've come back. I know they canceled the meeting and they've come back to redesign everything. Change is hard. I've seen people lose their mind when they see a pool or a house get started. And if the vote goes in Tim and Danielle's favor, I just want everybody to know I'll probably be the builder of the house, and I'll be as considerate as anyone they've ever dealt with. I know the neighborhood a little bit. I know the houses are kind of close, and it's a tight area, and I understand construction gets people crazy. I just hope that people will be open-minded and realize that these two young people are really good neighbors, and they just want to build a really nice house that fits in with the, I will say, uprising of the neighborhood, what I've seen in the last 5 or 6 years. With that, I thank you for your time, and I thank you people as well.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Colin Strong. I live on 25 Deerwood Ave, near where it meets 3rd Ave.
I submitted a letter in strong support of the Romano family's application, which I hope you've had a chance to read. The Romano family is willing to make a considerable investment to improve a house that's currently in pretty rough shape. The renderings don't show the trash bags on the windows currently. Revamping this property is in the best interest of everyone in the area. This plan will result in improvement that benefits both the town and the community. Thanks.
My name's Dan Wargo, 122 Deerwood Ave, and Colin said everything. We go walking and biking down there. The current house is an eyesore. It's just only an improvement. It benefits everybody and hurts nobody. So I really don't understand, honestly, why we're here. That's all I have to say.
Hello, John Cacciadorian, 34 Settlers Ridge Road, Milford. I've been here since 2016. My background is not in real estate or the legal system or in public speaking. My background is, however, deeply rooted in being lawful, honest, and considerate. I think it's typically important to use common sense and to keep the big picture in mind. Rules are made to be followed and enforced, but there are times when an exception can be made in consideration of the greater overall good for everybody. Timothy and Danielle are both outstanding citizens and parents. Even if they were ordinary, I'd still vote for what is right for them and their unique circumstance brought on by unpredictable and undeserved conditions. It's not because of who they are that I'm getting involved, it's just the logic of the situation. Whether or not they end up personally paying forward on the variance by way of future goodwill to the community, I'm certain that their children will be amazingly grateful and will mature to be pillars of our great city. There's no possible harm or downside with agreeing to the requested variance. Please find it in your heart and morals to strongly consider the overall situation with the variance that is being requested. Not only will Tim and Danielle's family be pleased with the outcome, all of their many friends and associates will have such a positive feeling about Milford, where being reasonable outweighs a strict interpretation of the regulations. Thank you in advance for considering the best logical decision for the Romano family today and all of Milford always. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else speaking in favor of this application? All right, is there anyone opposed to this application?
Good evening, Madam Chairperson and members of the board. My name is Attorney Hugh Curran. I represent the abutter, Mary Ellen Curran, and it's kind of surreal because I recognize some faces because I stood here on behalf of my family after losing our parents and opposed a identical situation before this board. I'm an attorney. I practice in Massachusetts and Connecticut. I do litigation. I've done numerous cases before the Zoning Board of Appeals. And I still, to this day, do not understand why, when someone in a neighborhood wants to demolish a house and rebuild it, that they don't go knock on doors and take things head on and say, this is what I'd like to do. There's been some misrepresentations that have been made that I'd like to clarify. First, there's been one meeting with the owners that abut, one. At the end of that meeting, the comment that was made to my sister was, be careful because we'll build a house on the lot next door that hosts the garage, which is 27 feet wide. Why make that comment? There was no discussion
I have for exhibits, and with the permission, I'd like to approach Ms. Green. I have extra copies. The first exhibit here's the second, and here's the third. For the record, the first is the appeals court case, which is Curran versus Zoning Board of Appeals in the Cullen family. The second is the 1901 map of Laurel Beach. Famous architect Sanford White did the design plan. And there's a charter that controls the beach. It was done in a way where the houses on the northern side of the street were closer in, and they developed at a shape where everyone could see the water. What's important about that map is that it shows that every house on this beach, except for a handful, and you're talking hundreds, are non-conforming lots. And that's important because when you read the appeals court decision establishes the law at Laurel Beach. The Cullens had the same presentation. The nonconformity is the hardship they claimed. Mr. Lynch indicated, Attorney Lynch indicated, the nonconformity itself is the hardship. It's case law in Connecticut. It dictates the law at Laurel Beach. The fact that they want to build their dream home. Hardship is not personal. No matter what the personal sacrifice is, it's not for your consideration. It's got to be specific to the land and unique to the land and the community. That does not happen here at Laurel Beach. They say there's been variances granted in the past. Well, unfortunately, the people didn't have the money or a brother that's a lawyer to challenge it and take it to the appeals court. But that's the finding of the appeals court. Hundreds and hundreds of hours put into litigation, and the appeals court has now said Laurel Beach has all non-conforming lots. That's not a hardship. That's not an exceptional circumstances. And they said, the Cullens said, we'll build on the footprint. The record did not dictate it because they were expanding. Madam Foreperson noted correctly that all the variances they're seeking in this case, they're looking to extend the variances. Extend the variances. Lot, the capacity, the side yard setbacks. And everyone thinks it's okay to go within 3 feet of a property line. I stood in front of the Butler's house today, and I looked down the street, 4 houses. In my lifetime, I'm aware that on the beach, there were 2 houses. The house that they referenced, that were next to each other, within 3 inches, within 3 feet of the property line, non-conforming houses. One house caught on fire. It spread to the other house. The father of that house had to make a decision which child he was going to save, and 2 children perished in that house. This isn't something that you can disregard. It's a safety issue. It's a safety issue when you build houses that close to each other. The case law is clear in Connecticut that the Zoning Board of Appeals must, if they have an opportunity, bring properties within compliance with the zoning regulations. Now, the houses that predate it, at a minimum, the case is clear. They must stay on the footprint. And that's what we have in this case. The last exhibit, and the neighbor, Jane Twombly, will explain how she, there. But you have a diagram that shows the change in this lot coverage and the size of this house, 5,300 square feet. We've lived in the same house. Our family, 6 kids, raised in that house. They have the opportunity, yes, to do something great for their family because it's a great community and build a house. But it should be within the footprint and it should be within compliance. The people, I'll wrap up, the people that have objected aren't owners on Laurel Beach. There's 2 to 4 owners on Laurel Beach that have objected. The Laurel Beach Property Association and Board are objecting to this because what happens when you wither away the zoning regulations, it impacts the value of the house. When you have a McMansion built next to you, people don't want to be that small little house next door and your value goes down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Shanley. I reside at 225 3rd Avenue, Laurel Beach Association. I'm currently part of represent the Property Committee for the Laurel Beach Association, and I was speaking on behalf of the board that is here to address the situation. But first, I'd like to address attorney's befuddlement and the other gentleman's befuddlement of why all the neighbors are here. The neighbors are here not because they're against Danielle and Tim and Miro and Vivian. We love them down at the beach. We enjoy their company. We share it. Everybody loves them. More kids in the neighborhood is great. They're not here against them. They're great neighbors. What we're here for is the development in our neighborhood. It's a we're not into the expansion of non-conforming lots down here. We like the attorney Curran said, there's a lot of non-conforming lots down there. It's like over 100 of them. But it's a continuation of all these variances that are going to start destroying and pick apart our neighborhood. So that's why they're here, not because of the Romanos. And I take really bad exception to that. And it's a personal attack I take personally, obviously. So with that, the board, we're not to the expansion of non-conforming lots down there. It's like I said before, it's picking us apart, and it's a little bit at a time with every part of the neighborhood there. But we are supportive because we do know to do the expansion on these older homes is very costly. We've all had to spend the money. So we understand that they have to tear the house down in order to really do a nice job to make their home down Laurel Beach for their lives and their children's lives and their grandchildren's lives. We understand that. So all we're asking for is a board to consider to make it into the existing footprint that it has and do as much as they can to modernize the house and make it for the family for life. And we want to enjoy them for the rest of our lives down there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dennis Anderson. I live at 165 3rd Avenue. That's 2 houses down from this property. I used to own the house right next to it, and I sold that. So I know 165 and 169 are the 2 that abut the Butler's property. I'm here to oppose the application. I'll try not to take too long. I agree with some of the comments that have been made already about this is overburdening the property, increasing the nonconformities. I've lived in Laurel Beach for 39 years. I'm a retired attorney. I used to be on this board for 15 years and heard the same things that you've been hearing tonight. The extra lot where the garage is has been used in connection with the house lot for over 50 years, so I don't think that is a reasonable argument to say, well, we should grant this because otherwise they can build on that lot. That lot has merged and it cannot be used separately without some special exception by this board. The request for all these variances, and there's a large number of them, is just to increase the nonconformity and is not appropriate. As you know, the standards for granting variances, and this many variances, is some exceptional difficulty or unusual hardship relating to the land itself. And all I'd say is there's too much being asked for. I agree with the prior comments. They should build within the footprint of what's there, which is already some nonconformity with the requirements. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Keith Raffle. That's my name there. Up there, I'm at 169 3rd Avenue in Milford, and the biggest variance would impinge upon us because the house would be moving up to 7 feet closer for most of the way. Of course, we'd rather not have that. Attorney Lynch said he was befuddled at why anybody would oppose what's being asked here. Well, it's because it would leave us very little privacy. It would raise safety issues, and it would raise aesthetic issues. It doesn't make sense to us, and we'd rather not have it. In terms of befuddlement, we have said, as you've heard before, please build it, even though the back is a variance already. If you just built on the footprint that's there now, we'd be good neighbors and say fine. On the other hand, if you want to move substantially closer to our house, we'd certainly rather not have that happen. Hence, we oppose the petition that's being made tonight. Thanks very much for listening to me. Good
Thank
evening.
you.
Hi, I'm Jane Twombly. I live at 194 3rd Avenue, directly across the street from this house. I have already submitted a letter opposing all of these requests for variances. Specifically, I have the biggest problem with the southerly ask for the variance because basically what they're doing is they're drawing a line from an already non-conforming one-story structure at the back of the house, and they're just continuing that line forward. And therefore creating, where's the water runoff going to go from this huge roof that we're not now going to have? If they could actually stay within the variance, the zoning, if they just expand their house only a couple feet to the south. Ideally, we would appreciate it if they kept with the footprint, but if they are looking to keep within the zoning regulations, they could actually gain a couple feet instead of gaining 7 to 8 feet, which is what they're gaining right now. I also, the comments that Tom Lynch made about not increasing the nonconformity, it's going from 41%, 41.95 to 53 for the building, and the lot coverage is going from 41.95 to 57, so that is a significant increase, which we have a problem with. And in addition, the front stairs will be blocking a view, even with the railing. He noted that it wouldn't, but it definitely would. And the average square foot of a house on 3rd Avenue is about 2,300 square feet. That is what all the houses are typically. This house is about 5,000 square feet. You can see we saw the drawings, you can do the math. I don't know where he got 4,200 square feet, but it seems like it's a lot more. So it just is not really keeping with the aesthetic of the neighborhood, of it being a beach community, and keeping with the scale of what is existing on 3rd Avenue. So for these reasons, I am opposing the variance request.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Madam Chairperson and board members, thank you for the time. My name is Eric Twombly. I live at 194 3rd Avenue. I'm Jane's husband. We've lived at that house for 30 years, 29 and a half years to be exact. And we've made changes to our house and stayed within our existing footprint for those changes. And so we like the Romanos. They're a wonderful family. We're very excited that they might be building a new house in this location. But we just, wonder why it can't be done on the existing footprint. That the hardships, are they true hardships or are they design choices? 172 Third Avenue has a two-car garage. And that is part of what the Romanos purchased. And yet, in this existing plan, they've devoted significant space on the first floor for a garage. Is that a hardship or a design choice? So, so I don't want to repeat everything else that people have been saying, but I just, again, go back to, choices were made that may not be hardships. They were design choices. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Cindy Eddy. I live at 189 3rd Avenue. Our property is directly across the street from 171. So my family is the one that will be looking at the bigger, much wider house. In my view, the existing zoning regulations provide ample space for a large house on this lot, and the proposed plans extend well beyond what should be allowable and represent an increase in the building and lot coverage by way too much. In my view, it's an overuse of the property and will make our section of the street way too dense. It also will introduce a house that's out of character with our street and neighborhood. Frankly, I'm daunted by the idea of this widened, immense house being squeezed into a lot that faces us and that will dwarf and overpower everything around it. So I ask you to please reject this proposal and ask them to comply with the regulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Rebecca Elsley, 153 4th Avenue in Milford, as well as live in Westport. Know the Romanos, know the builder. I will state that nobody likes change. Change is hard. I do agree that the house is in an area that the elevation does need to probably be raised. My opposing portion is I appreciate their gesture for redesigning, but the extending of the staircase out because of the fact that they have to get into the house is not really a hardship when you're rebuilding a home. You can actually modify the design within, as well as the staircase in the back of the house is also pushing the setbacks further. And that is also not necessarily, if you're redesigning a house, you could change the design to incorporate that. As far as taking the sight line of the right-hand side, which I believe is the east, and following it through, I understand why they want to square off the house. It makes a better designed house, but it is very, very large for that size lot. And for that, I say it's a little too big for that lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Una Petrosky. I live at 18 8th Avenue in Laurel Beach. I just wanted to talk about the fact that this is a hardship that we're talking about. If you wanted to just square off the house, there's another option. You could take that little piece off the back. You're building up anyway. I don't really get the whole hardship thing, especially if you are tearing the house down. Why don't we look at taking away the encroachment on the passageway? I do believe that this is a design choice, and obviously they want to build the house they want to build, and I sympathize with that, but this is an overbuild on that lot, and it's not necessary. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm short. Good evening. Tara Glennon, 23 Seaview in Laurel Beach. I know Tim, great guy. We play pickleball together every weekend practically. He's much better than I am, so when winners move up and losers move down, we don't often play on the same court, but he's a great guy. My issue, however, is the adjacency to the Laurel Beach passageways. So one of the gentlemen asked about the passageways earlier. They allow children to move from 1st to 2nd to 3rd to 4th to 5th Ave without having to go to the end of the block and walk on main thoroughfares. because as you know, Milford Point Road, which is at the end of one that blocks, doesn't even have a sidewalk. So it allows children to pass through safely. When I was on the board several years ago, one of our tasks was to survey all the passageways to make sure there were no incursions, because the primary responsibility of the passageways was to allow safe passage for the children, unobstructed views, good visual orientation as to where you are. My feeling is that any further incursion on setbacks, whether front, back, or side, will considerably limit the visibility within those passageways, which will then make it a little bit more challenging to safely navigate from one street to the other. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Bernhard Bruder, 200 3rd Avenue, Milford. I purchased my property on 200 3rd Avenue around the mid-60s. I don't remember the date, but in the mid-60s. Shortly after living in Laurel Beach, my wife and I decided that it was time to put an addition on the house. It was a 2-story addition behind the garage. With respect, that was going to be a family room, an office, and storage. The purpose of this was to make it a more livable home with raising children. One thing, the structure was, I had it planned it to be to the back side of my property of Laurel Beach. So it was behind me. That variance was denied, or I could not get it. I had to shrink the family room. I had to minimize it a little bit and make it smaller than intended. Part of the addition was also to be, it was behind the garage, all right? The 2-story family room was behind the garage, and what I wanted to do was to expand the garage. The plan was initially to expand the garage from 1 car to a 2-car. However, that variance was denied. So I never had a 2-car garage. The second construction was just a few years ago. I enclosed my front porch with windows and a door. And leaving the front porch, I could exit my porch to the street or to the garage area. To the street, I had planned a certain amount of steps and all. That was denied, and I had to shrink the street usage, or the stairs to the street. I had to shrink that, so that was denied. So I just wanted to know, or I just wanted to let you know that this was a good number of years ago, but I don't know what has changed so much that things could be passed now to not have all these variances. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sheila Kempf. I'm at 28th Avenue. And the only comment I want to make here is that I actually built my house on 8th Avenue also and had a lot that needed a lot of planning. And I remember with the Planning and Zoning Commissioner, and I cannot remember his name right now, but we were going down to the basement of City Hall to find the original plans from 1938, which was the footprint I had to keep to in order to build. And we dug through all these files that had mold on them after the floods so that I could make sure that I stuck to the footprint. And I wanted to make sure that I stuck to that and didn't go up too high and didn't make something too big for the lot. And I think that it behooves all of us to do that. We make these laws, we put these zoning things into place so that we have reasonable separation between houses, so we have reasonable space in the community, and I think that we all need to stick to that as much as possible. Everyone gets stuck once in a while, needs a foot here or a foot there, but this is a lot of different variances, and I think that it would behoove the owners to really try to conform to the footprint that's there and not try to extend much further. And it is, as everyone has said, it would be a much larger house than anything on that street. And every time we allow that to happen, it really makes the neighborhood just a little bit more overgrown and overbuilt. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman and the board, Paul Healy, 1A Seaview Avenue, Unit 3, that's the Laurel Sands condominiums, which are in the geographical boundaries of Laurel Beach. Been a lifelong resident of Laurel Beach, and also just a licensed realtor in Connecticut, and done building here in Milford in the community. This particular situation, once again, what's being asked for is an overreach. I concur with Attorney Ukern, and I also concur with Attorney Dennis Anderson, who have expertise in these areas. I'm not going to go into that, but they do have the ability to build a beautiful home. As others have said, this is a unique community. They've been welcomed into the community. This particular matter is one in terms of overreach relative to zoning compliance. So we all know that you should be diminishing non-conforming uses wherever practicable is what the case law and what the standards should be that we look at. They absolutely have the ability to take down a structure that's been dilapidated. As Tim said himself, the family, the legacy, they just didn't have the wherewithal financially to maintain, that particular property. We're all looking forward to the uplift of the property, not to an egregious extent in terms of what's being, proposed here. A prime example, and then I'll conclude, is the Laurel Beach Hotel. My wife's family owned that. It was a legally existing non-conforming use within the geographical boundaries of Laurel Beach. 44 semi-transient hotel rooms that in 1989-90 we turned into Laurel Sands condominiums, brought it down to 14 first-class residential units. Originally 16, we had 2 mergers, now it's 14. What did that do? Substantially increase the value of the neighborhood, taxes that were incurred for the municipality, but it brought it into better harmony within that particular neighborhood. So that whole community, Laurel Sands within Laurel Beach, participates in all the recreational attributes in special association facilities that we all enjoy. The Romanos and everyone here from Laurel Beach that's in this room, we all share in that collectively, together. This is a matter of case law, overreach, and we certainly don't respect negative comments made in our regards as residents and lifelong residents of Laurel Beach by Attorney Lynch. They're offensive. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else speaking in opposition to this application?
Hi, I'm Diane Geary. I live at 192 3rd Avenue. I also live across the street from the Butler House. This proposed house is double the size of the Butler House. And they raised 6 kids in that house. I know they'd like to have a McMansion, but I think they should make it smaller. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, Attorney Lynch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, with all that said, I've discussed this with my client, and what I'd like to do is keep this hearing open to next month. There may be some modifications to the plan, maybe an attempt to discuss the plans further with members of the Laurel Beach Association who, despite what Mr. Healy said, I certainly was not making any disparaging remarks about board members. I was making a comment that my clients were really trying to work with the board. So I'm not going to get into any further. I think you've heard enough. What I'd like to do, and I already discussed it with Stephen, I'd like to keep the hearing open to the July meeting and see if we can come back with plans that may be revised. Fair
Okay.
enough?
Sure. Stephen, do we need a vote on that, or?
Yeah, you should vote to keep it open. Just as a point of order, though, if there are any revisions to the plan, they would have to be submitted prior to the statutory advertising time frame that we would have.
Okay. All right. Mr. Soto?
I make a motion to hold the hearing open until the July meeting.
Second.
All right. Motion and a second and a vote. Mr. King?
With the motion.
Mr. Soto?
With the motion.
Ms. Hirsch?
With the motion.
Mr. Heinig?
With the motion.
I'm with the motion. We'll hold the meeting, hold the hearing over until next month.
Right. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. This hearing will continue next month. As you're filing out, please keep your voices down. We still have a meeting in progress. Everyone, please keep your voices down. We have a meeting in progress that needs to continue. Please take all conversations to the hallway. Thank you very much. Can everyone please continue along outside? We need to continue the meeting. Okay, we are going to continue this meeting with item number 2. Ms. Hirsch.
51 Snow Apple Lane, MBP 58/712/4, R10, Thomas Lynch Esquire, from Michael Pirozzoli.
You got it
All
right the first time.
Thank you, sir. Owner to vary section 3.1.4.1, side yard setback to 4.5 feet where 10 required to allow construction of garage living area addition to residence, survey by P. Stowell, 5/12/2025.
Thank you. And again, Madam Chair, on this application, Thomas Lynch, I'm representing my client, Michael Pirozzoli, who's seated in the front row. And Michael is the owner of 51 Snow Apple Lane. He bought it a few years ago, and this is a fairly straightforward request to you. It's an application to vary 3141, section 3141, the side yard on the southerly side of the property from 10 feet required to 4.5 feet provided to allow for the addition of a garage with a master bedroom addition to the back. So a little bit of background, 51 Snow Apple Lane, it's located in the Orchard Hills area off of Baxter Lane. The house now is a 3-bedroom, 1,000 square foot ranch that was built in 1955. Mike is a single dad. He has 3 kids, and with the kids growing, the request is to allow him to build an addition. He doesn't have a garage now, so he has his truck and equipment that's sitting rather unsightly on the driveway at this time. So the plans have been presented to you. They're up on the screen. It's a addition with the garage. The master bedroom addition would be on the rear portion of that. I submit to you that the hardship exists because of the improvements that are on site. It negates any other location for the building to be built anywhere else. As I said, the garage will store his truck and his equipment, and it'd be an enhancement to the neighborhood. Michael has done his due diligence. He went through the neighborhood, spoke to all of his neighbors. We've submitted to you a petition that was signed by 10 neighbors in close proximity to his house. Everyone was in favor of his request, and I submit to you that it's a reasonable request, and it's in conformity with that neighborhood. I'd ask that you approve it, and happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Lynch?
I do. Attorney Lynch, what is the hardship?
Hardship is the fact that there's no location for the addition to go anywhere else. All right, so as it relates to the side yard itself, there's a 4.5 foot remainder with the location of the house adjacent to him. I believe there's another 10 or 12 feet that's provided there. So we feel that there's a sufficient buffer between, even with the addition going on in the house next door.
Well, we can't really count the neighbor's buffer, but I mean, I'm looking at all the lots on that street. They're all 80 foot wide. Everybody's the same. I don't, you know, I'm looking for a significant hardship here. And I'm almost wondering too, you know, if not a 2-car garage, could he put a 1-car garage on there, stay within the setback, and then put the proposed living area on the corner going around the back of the house?
That was, he looked at that, but the other bedrooms that are in the house now, if the addition went back there, it would remove a window from one of the bedrooms in the rear of the house. So, you know, this proposal places the master bedroom away from that so that it creates sort of an L, and there's a patio in the back there as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, is there anyone speaking in favor of this application? Is there anyone opposed to this application? Sure.
Sure. Just introduce yourself to the board.
Hi, Mike Parazzoli, 51 Snowapple Lane. I just want to say something. Everyone in the neighborhood has built a garage. When I went around asking stuff, and they all had to go over, do this. A lot of them, their garages are right up to the borderline of it. So it's not like I'm asking anything unfair or above what everybody else has done. I have looked into many different options to try to get each of my kids their own bed. Sorry. So each of my kids can have their own bedroom. If I try any other way, it takes away a window. And when I mean takes away a window, it takes away any window they have for the bedroom, so it won't work. You're calling it a 2-car garage. It's actually not a 2-car garage. I have a pickup truck, a toolbox, and many tools. It actually comes out to about like a 1-car, 1.5. If you try to squeeze a toolbox in there, you can barely open the doors. I'm not asking to try to make something extravagant, huge, or overreaching. I'm only asking something so that my kids can live in our little dream house. It's nothing big, but it's the best I can do. The neighborhood is awesome. One of the best neighborhoods you can get. I don't want to try to find another house. I want my kids to grow in this house. I'm sorry, I can't say anything else. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other
Okay,
questions?
any other questions for Attorney Lynch?
Attorney Lynch, a single door on that
Yes.
1.5, so it's a single, so appearance-wise, aesthetics.
Yes.
It's a single. Thank you.
How much, Attorney Lynch, how much space is there between the existing side of the house and the setback?
Well, the request is 4. It should be 15 feet.
No, the setback, not the, oh, so
It would be
10
50
and a half, right?
Right.
What's the setback, 10 feet?
Setback's 10 feet.
Madam
So
Chair?
12 and a half feet.
Madam Chair, there's 22.5 feet between the lot line and the corner of the existing house.
Right.
So with the setback, it's 12 and a half. Okay. Okay, any other questions? All right, this hearing is closed. Mr. Soto.
I move to approve the request to vary section 3.1.4.1 side yard setback to 4.5 feet where 10 feet required to allow construction of garage, living area addition to residence, survey by P. Stowell, 5/12/2025.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, open for discussion. I absolutely feel for this applicant. However, I see no hardship in this lot. It exceeds the minimum area for the zone. It exceeds the minimum width. It exceeds the minimum depth. At this point, as we discussed, I could reasonably put on a 12 and a half foot addition, which would fit a truck. And I look at a lot of houses. I've seen narrower bedrooms than 12 and a half feet. There's no saying this applicant can't go further back to get the room for a primary bedroom. It's admirable what he's trying to do with this addition, but I'm not seeing a hardship in the land.
Through you, Madam Chair, I concur. The lot is well-sized. I'm looking on the street. There is similar lots, all 80-foot wide. There is room to put an addition onto the house and still stay in the setback.
Well, I disagree with both of you. I think he's not asking for a lot here. It's an 18-foot garage, which isn't unreasonable. I mean, you got to have some storage space in there. And, these old 12-foot garages that were on a lot of the ranches in the Gulf Street area, I mean, you get a car in them, you can barely open your doors and get stuff out. The guy's got a big truck. I mean, I don't think he's asking for anything unreasonable here. I'm in favor of it.
It's not an unreasonable width for a two-car garage or 1.5, but he is asking for more than half of the setback.
I understand that, but an 18-foot garage really isn't a two-car garage. That's a pretty narrow garage. The minimum you usually do for a two-car is 24 feet, 22, 24 feet.
Right, so 18 is more than sufficient for a single car, and you can always elongate it for storage.
We've given people variances, I mean, for more than what he's asking, so.
That is true, but generally, those variances come with a non-conforming lot, which this is not. I mean, his ask is reasonable, yes. I'm with you on that 100%. I want to give it to him. But our charge is hardship in the land. So, Bill, what is the hardship you're seeing in the land?
I understand what you're saying, but I'm just in favor of it.
Okay, any other comments?
Do we give them an option to modify prior? You got 4.5 foot existing after, if we approve it as is, which is half, I agree that. And it is a easy lot to modify this plan. Instead of killing it, or?
Well, I mean, I think that there's room for an addition, personally, I think there's room for an addition without a variance. Modification implies, I mean, it's your vote, if you're willing to give any variance at all. I mean, I think
Going from a 6, giving them a 6 versus a 4.5? Good point.
Granting a variance here, correct me if I'm wrong, but we got a legal building lot, and granting this variance will make it a legal non-conforming lot. Correct?
I'm sorry, one more time.
Will that make, by granting this variance, we're making a legal lot a legal non-conforming lot? Am I correct?
Well, the lot is still conforming. We're adding a variance to the...
Madam Chair, the lot is the lot. Granting a variance doesn't change the dimensions of the lot.
Mm-hmm.
It just changes the status of the structure on the lot from conforming to non-conforming.
So currently, the structure is legal for zoning,
Correct.
and by granting this variance, we'll be making it legal non-conforming, correct?
That's true with any variance.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, so we have a motion on the table. We have a thought to modify the request. Well, we modify the request or leave it open for the applicant's modification.
How do we do that now? Because we used to,
I know, that's a procedural
I don't want to
question.
go to a 6 from a 4.3 and try
Wait,
to,
so what exactly are you, what would you be proposing?
I retract. I'm okay with this as proposed to go to a 6.3 from a 4.3.
Well,
We're still
it would
granting
be,
the
it would
variance.
be a 4.5-foot setback as they're
Right.
requesting. So are you saying you're good with that, or you would like to see a modification?
I'm good with it.
I mean, if we're going to turn it down, I'd like to see a modification. I mean, if you guys, if we don't have the votes to pass it, let's not completely kill it on him. Let's give him something.
Bill, if I can ask a question, can he fit his truck with the proposal that Chris was making earlier about reducing the side yard variance to 6.5 feet? So the garage would be about 14 feet wide?
Yeah, he could fit one truck in that, yeah.
With doors opening and all of that?
You want to modify it to 6.3 feet? What is it now, 4 point what? 4.3?
It's 4.5.
6.5? Take 2 feet away.
Still in the setback.
6 to 10.
I think he'd be happy with that than getting it turned down. You all right with that, sir?
I mean,
I don't want to go through all this.
I mean, my
I don't want
heart
to
is
go through all
okay
this
with
and
it,
then you
my
vote
head
it down
not
anyway.
so much. I mean, it's,
Come on, give him something.
there's no
Throw him a bone,
hardship.
sir.
Oh my God, what is what's the minimum?
Going to 10 to a 4.3.
No, I mean, what is the reasonable minimum for a one car? Forget storage. Storage can be elongated.
Well, if you got a full-size truck, like I got an F-350, I mean, you open the doors on that and everything,
Yeah, but are we opening all doors at once?
No, but if you're getting stuff out on one side and then you're putting stuff in the other side, you're always walking around the truck opening it. I mean,
I know,
I think if we give him 6 feet, 6.5 feet, he could make the garage 16 feet wide. That would be decent.
I'm having a tough time thinking that we can't put a truck in a 12.5-foot garage. I mean, if it was 2 trucks and they wanted a 25-foot garage, we wouldn't be talking about this.
Well, you got to remember, the garage is 12, and then you got your walls coming in, then you got to put a smaller door on it. So you probably got a 10-foot door on a 12-foot garage. And then with the mirrors, the mirrors, I don't know what size, I don't know what kind of truck he has.
All right, but I just want to remind the board that we had almost identical applications several months ago. There was zero hardship in the lot, same sort of neighborhood where every single lot was exactly the same. That guy had a truck, and we did not.
Well, if I remember, I voted in favor of that one.
Yes, you did. But the board as a whole did not. And again, my heart goes out to this applicant, but I'm not seeing a hardship. And we didn't see a hardship in the last one.
We very much would like to approve, everybody's project, but we have guidelines and rules that we have to follow, and that's what we're trying to do here.
So we do have a motion on the table. Is anyone interested in modifying the motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Can we modify the motion without a vote? Can we just put in a new one?
You restate the motion with a modification.
Yes, restate the motion
Okay.
with your modification.
51 Snow Apple Lane, I move to approve with the following modification. Request to vary section 3.1.4.1 side yard setback to 6.5 feet where 10 feet required to allow construction of garage, living area, addition to residence surveyed by P. Stowell, 5/12/2025. We got a second?
Do we have a
Second.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Okay, we have a modified motion and a second. Mr. King,
Against the motion.
Mr. Wolf,
With the motion.
Mr. Soto,
I'm with the motion.
Ms. Hirsch,
Against the motion.
and I'm against the motion. Motion fails. Okay. All right, item number 350, oh, sorry, Ms. Hirsch, item number 3.
354 North Street, MBP 87-9026 and 8, R18, Kevin Kersadian Esquire for AS Realty LLC, Butterfly Inc., owner, to vary section 6.2.1, expansion of nonconforming use, expanding the storage of equipment material from inside to outside. Thank you. 5.8.6.5, outdoor storage of material or equipment, survey by Westcott and Mapes, 10/31/2017.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. For the record, Madam Chair, members of the board, my name is Kevin Kersaden. My office is here in Milford at 3 Lafayette Street. With me this evening is Ray Pear, our engineer, Westcott and Mapes, the project engineer for site plan, and also Al Sabloy, the president and CEO of Butterfly and AS Realty, the owner and applicants of the owners of the property and the applicants. So this property has a unique history. I've passed out a memo that I'll just highlight the main points of it. The use is a legal pre-existing non-conforming use as warehouse and distribution facility. It is an R18 zone, but when I was preparing for the hearing, I brought or attached the old zoning maps. You probably can't see them without them being zoomed into, but this property, for some reason, kind of was on the zoning map in 1929. The first zoning map was shown as industrial, and all the surrounding parcels were shown as residential A for some reason. So this was kind of an island standing out by itself, and it stood that way until the early 1970s. I think around 1974, for whatever reason, the area was changed to R18, and this property was changed to R18 as well. But it has existed, at least according to the assessor's records, this building with maybe some modifications over the years, since 1922. It's been a warehouse and distribution facility, or the building has been in place, and it's currently being used as a warehouse and distribution facility, which brings us here. A few years ago, when there's just a little bit more background to this, and this is the first step in a process to bringing the property towards zoning compliance. It borders the Weppawag that runs along North Street. So it's got the Weppawag River running through the property, and it also has wetlands, inland wetlands surrounding the property. And there's an island of inland wetlands on the north part of the property. As you come in from North Street, on the right-hand side there, the wetlands are to the right and towards the neighbors, and that's the northerly side of the property. So there's a lot of wetlands on the property. Because of its proximity to the Weppawag River, it's in a FEMA flood zone. It's an AE flood zone, and that's one of the variances, is the outdoor storage in a flood zone is what we're requesting. So Joe Griffith, a few years ago, Al purchased it as the principal of these entities and has done a lot of work trying to make the building itself flood compliant. I looked at this property with Al a few years ago when Joe Griffith was still the Director of Permitting and Land Use, and Joe had identified that some permits were being issued for work that Al wanted to do to bring the building up to code and to a usable state. I'm not sure if it sat vacant for a while. Stephen might know the history of it before Al purchased it, or Al might know that history of it. But the point of that is that Joe Griffith identified that it wasn't a flood zone, that it needed significant improvements, and as you know, residential structures, if you're in a flood zone, you need to elevate it. In this case, with a commercial structure, my limited understanding, that's not my area of expertise, is that you can take other steps to flood-proof a building, which Mr. Sabloy and his company have tried to take over the years. It's been a long process bringing it into compliance. He does have other plans. There are other steps along the way. If the board approves this application, there's in the wetlands application that would need it to be approved. There would be possibly a coastal site plan application. I don't know if it's technically in the CAM zone, but it is in a flood zone. We might need planning and zoning site plan approval. I would leave that to Stephen to chime in on that. I know Stephen has been working with the applicant. There was a notice of violation because of the outdoor storage. There's business reasons why the outdoor storage is in place and why it's being requested. Originally, I appealed that decision in order to protect the property owner's rights, and that was on your agenda for a few months, and we withdrew that last month, and we were in the process of developing plans to bring this application in front of you for a variance. And then also, Al has his architects and engineers separate from Westcott and Mapes working on other aspects of the building to flood-proof the building. So, as you can see, there's been several certificates of zoning compliance and approvals for a warehouse and distribution facility. There was a variance in 1974 to add on to that facility. I already talked about the notice of violation. There's been a few over the years, most of them prior to Al purchasing the property. As I mentioned, the WEPWAG runs through it. I included in this memo what I include for every application I submit over the past couple of years with the standards for granting a variance and how the application meets the standard, and also in this case, and Stephen reminded me about this, there's a couple of other criteria when you're asking for a variance of the flood zone regulations, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But as you know, in order to grant a variance, there needs to be a legal hardship. In this case, we have a legal pre-existing non-conforming use as a warehouse and distribution facility. We have a proposed accessory use of outdoor storage in the R18 zone, but it's also in the flood zone. The legal hardships that prevent the storage from being indoors that would be the inland wetlands and also being in a flood zone expanding the structure. So it's not a situation where Mr. Sabloy is going to add on or be able to add on like warehouse space in order to have storage indoors. He would be here for a variance if they did that as well, because that would also be an expanding and non-conforming use. You are allowed to have accessory uses that coincide with your legal use of the property. The legal use of the property is the warehouse and distribution facility. The accessory use would be the outdoor storage. A few years ago, and maybe Mr. Sabloy, when I'm done, can come up and talk about what the storage is being used for. But a few years ago, he had brought this business to Milford, and this is a certain aspect of the business that requires outdoor storage of very large, I think industrial-sized condenser units. In addition, variances in a flood zone, I attached the variance procedure in flood zone regulations. It's 5 or 6 pages, I think. Essentially, as part of its consideration for something in the flood zone, the board must determine that there will be no increase in flood heights, no additional threats to public safety, no private or public property or at risk or risk of extraordinary public expense, and no nuisance creation. These are outdoor storage of condenser units. It's our position that they were not in violation of any of that section of 5.8 variance procedure in a flood zone. This would not cause an increase in flood heights. There's no additional threats to public safety, private or public property, no risk of public expense, and no nuisance creation by the storage. And so it's my position, it's the applicant's position, that due to the unique characteristics of, I'll go back up a little bit. The elevation and the topography of the lot, consisting of inland wetlands, and also the topography by the Weppawag, places the lot in the SFHA FEMA AE flood zone. That is something that's unique to this property that's not typical in the R18 zone citywide. And the standard is, I heard a lot of talk about it's not in the community or it's not in the neighborhood. The legal standard pursuant to the case law is it's whether it's something that's atypical for the zone. So you don't talk about neighborhoods or streets or communities, you talk about whether it's the zone. So in the R18 zone, the R18 zone has certain areas in Milford, but not all of them have these unique, not all the properties or many properties have this unique characteristic. So due to the unique characteristics of this property, which is the elevation, topography, location next to the Weppawag River, and also the legal pre-existing non-conforming use, when compared to other R18 properties citywide, the application and enforcement of the zoning regulations 6.2.1, which is expansion of a non-conforming use, which is to include outdoor storage, and then section 5.8.6.5, which is outdoor storage of material or equipment in the flood zone, as applied to this property, results in an unusual hardship, prohibiting the proposed accessory use when that same regulation would not impact other properties in the R18 zone in the same manner, because they do not possess the same characteristics. And I don't know, Al, do you want to come up? And I just would like Al to explain unless anybody has any questions for me.
Mr. Soter.
Attorney Crusade, so basically this whole application is for the outside storage of condenser units in that shaded area on the survey?
That's correct.
Okay. So is that area in a flood zone?
Yes.
Okay. So these are rooftop condensers which can't get submerged. What's the plan if we got a flood coming? What are you going to do with is that whole area going to be covered with condensers?
So to answer the last question first, it's to give the facility flexibility, so it would never exceed the requested area, but there could be less condensers.
So if you got a flood coming, are you going to have room to put them inside and up high or something and get them out of the...
That's not something that they have a plan for.
Are they going to be stored in that area above the flood zone, or are they going to be in the flood zone, the condensers?
They are going to be stored in that area. Whether they're going to be elevated off the ground or not, we haven't made that final determination yet.
So you might be putting racks in there and getting them up 4 feet or whatever you need to get them above flood zone?
Yeah, I think the 100-year flood is 4 feet. In speaking with Ray Perry, Westcott and Mapes today about that, and we've talked about various other potential, I guess, site plan type things to secure the condenser units, or whether they be elevated or not.
I would think you almost have to elevate them, because if you got a flood coming, it's going to be a lot of moving, you know what I mean?
Right. I understand what you're saying. You said a lot of movement, is that what you said?
A lot of moving them inside or trying to get them out of the flood zone.
Yeah.
You don't want them underwater or they're no good.
No, I understand that, and that's a business decision, by the owner and the applicant, what they can do with it. I think that, and maybe Al can speak to it a little bit in more depth, but I think that they've looked for other places to store these, and they've considered other options, and I think it's just the current nature of the business that they are storing them outside.
Right. Okay, that's all I got.
Mr. King.
Through you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Attorney Crusaden. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. Could you describe these condensers to me? How big are they? What are we talking about here?
I can show them to you.
Okay, great.
Yeah, 6 pictures.
I mean, are they massive or, bigger than a bread box, smaller than a telephone pole?
They're pretty big, they're rooftop units.
The rooftop units? Sure.
So I'll have Mr. Sabloy speak to that as well.
Albert Sabloy. I live at 908 Rainbow Trail, Orange, Connecticut. Grew up here. The founder of a company called Butterfly with 2 Ds. We're an energy management company. It's a bit unique. We buy all this equipment for the customers, we implement it, and then we do a 10-year deal and we take over the billing and we make it back through efficiency. So we ended up with a surge of this business. We've grown a lot, and recently we used the outside storage, and frankly it went around the building. We've backed that down now and got it to what I call a manageable level, and it will probably be flex, but not over what we're asking for. The units themselves are typically commercial rooftops. They range from 4 or 5 tons in the low end to 15 to 20 tons on the high end. Weights would be 800 pounds to 2,000 pounds each. I believe we've got the traffic more manageable. Again, we had a surge recently, a little bit beyond our control, and I amped it down. We have the ability through 3 forklifts to move probably within a day or 2, all the units. To your question, we came in today thinking the first layer, because we do stack them 2 at a time, if the flood zone did hit it, it would go inside the units. We could insure the units. The other option, as you mentioned it, we probably, at least temporarily, could bring them inside. I'd have to look at that, because the way we use the warehouse now, we have aisles between racks. But if for 2 days in a flood zone, we could literally have 3 forklifts probably get them out of there, potentially. It's an idea. Again, I just want to, hopefully be helpful to what we're trying to accomplish here. I bought the building and put quite a bit of money. The remaining projects, the flood mitigation, Stephen and I have talked about it, gets complicated. Like I'm in a hydrostatic engineering to see whether or not we have to expand the slab now, potentially. So that's been a recent delay, but we're going to figure it out and get done what we need to get that complete. And I also wanted to upgrade the facade of the building. It's frankly been an eyesore for almost 80 years. Have a whole plan for that, and then the landscaping, and a little bit nicer on the bridge. At least for the neighborhood, I do care about the aesthetics. We've had traffic issues before when we had the surge. I think we're a little more manageable now, but we'll do our best to try to keep that at least in a good spot. But, so anyway, I'll pause for a second if you have any questions.
Yeah, what is the reason why you have to store them outside? Is it just because you're full inside?
We are.
Okay.
We are. Now, they were coming around the front, and I run the company, but the company got fairly big. I told them we have to shrink this down at this point, so I think we have it manageable with what we've asked for in the back. I was also concerned about aesthetics and views of the neighborhood, so I've worked with Ray. We're talking about an arborvitae surrounding of the entire property, because that property, again, has been an eyesore for many years. I think an arborvitae barrier around the whole thing, I think, would help as well. Right. So I was including that in the strategy.
I think this question might be for Attorney Crusaden. We're talking about expanding a commercial use that's in a residential zone. Can you go over the hardship with me one more time?
Sure. The legal hardship, there's several legal hardships, but primarily, are you talking about why we can't do it indoors, or why we're just expanding?
You're expanding we're being asked to expand a commercial use on a property that's in a residential zone. Yeah. So I want to make sure I clearly understand your definition of the hardship.
Yeah, so the legal hardship in order to expand the non-conforming use in the zone is the fact that right now it's a legal use, whether you call it pre-existing legal non-conforming or non-conforming use, and the property has existed in that way since prior to the zoning regulations. This is really just an expansion of the of an accessory use. So when you have whether you have like a legal use or whether you have a non-conforming use or a legal non-conforming use, you're allowed an accessory use. I don't always agree with which is why we brought the appeal in the first place. So I don't always agree with the determination by the zoning enforcement officer that we're actually required to apply for a variance for a non-conforming use, but as part of our application process, we're trying to work with the city and move this forward. But the actual legal hardship is that the use is allowed as a warehouse distribution facility already, and we're not really expanding the use, we're expanding the location or the area of the use or relocating it within the property. The issue, one of the issue, and there was a variance granted in, I think, like I said, 1974 timeframe. I didn't have time to look back and see what the stated hardship was for that expansion, but the reason we can't keep it enclosed is because of the inland wetlands on the make another addition. Number one, I think that would be more intrusive than what we're asking for, but number two, we don't, the location of the wetlands on site in the flood zone would, prohibit a substantial addition to the property.
What kind of what kind of materials are inside of this condenser? Listen, I don't know what I don't know what a condenser is. So, is there any kind of what happens if one of these things gets flooded? Is there any kind of chemicals in it? Is there any kind of
No, these are, there's no refrigerant in them because we're not using them yet. When they get installed, that gets put in. We store lighting inside. We store mostly electronics, metering, sub-metering, electrical components, things of that nature, all energy upgrades. We don't do a lot of solar, not really any solar panels per se that we're doing. So mostly HVAC units, lighting, all probably drive 30 to 50% energy reduction whenever we put them in.
Are these condensers strictly AC, or they have gas furnaces on them?
They're all AC. We're primarily HVAC, all HVAC.
Okay.
And all RTUs, rooftop units. We do have some heat pumps, but few. A little hard to get those into these environments that use gas, obviously.
So you've owned it since 22?
I bought the building, I think, in 2018.
Oh, 2018.
Yeah. It's been a slow process, mainly, listen, that's a tough building. We put in geothermal, the town ended up approving it. We probably got the most advanced geothermal system in that building right now. You wouldn't feel it when you look at the building yet. When the facade gets done, I think it'll fill out the entire place and the landscaping.
Would you put wells in?
25 wells.
Wow.
We did, with 13 heat pumps, all electric. Anyone wants to see it, you can. Did R50 on the roof, which nobody does, so it's.
And what's your heating load or cooling load? You cool it too?
Oh yeah, heating and cooling. Yeah. We do. Now there are no warehouses that are cooled, but we got it because it's in the ground.
Right.
We're an energy efficiency company. I live it and breathe it, and that's what we do. And we end up buying it for our customers, so that's where we store most of our things.
Right. So in the last 20 or 30 years, do you know how many times the property's flooded?
It's happened twice with me. I don't know.
How much water did you get?
It didn't go inside the building, although we, in the flood mitigation, we're going up, Ray, I think 5 feet. So I built an entire flood wall using insulated concrete forms because I wanted R30 insulation. A little crazy. We did a whole footing. I thought we were going to be good with a panel system until the engineers to fill out the FEMA form, which we need to do, are doing hydrostatic testing of the slab at this point. So it may be that I have to, I did expand the slab in about a third of the building, but I might have to do it for the rest. And if I do, I do. I want to make it flood-proof and get the building in compliance. That's the objective.
Sounds like you're spending a lot of money.
A lot. I've made it incredibly energy efficient. It's probably the most energy efficient warehouse in the Northeast right now.
Right.
But again, it's an icon for Butterfly and what we do. We've had some situations where we've had some surges in our business and there's been traffic. I don't feel good about that, so I've managed this. I think putting it in the back with the arborvitae and then finishing the building, I think we'll even end up with a better aesthetic outcome, at least is my objective, that is fully flood-proofed using...
Now, I've gone by it over the last few years and it's looking good.
There's always something going on, I know. Right.
Looking
I've
good
done
from
it
what
right.
it used to look like.
Yeah, I really have to get this flood thing done before I do the last two steps. And we will get it done, it just may be that I have to pour a 6-inch slab in the rest of the building.
Madam Chair, I just have a point of clarification. The outdoor storage is not accessory to the principal use, it's part of the principal use.
Okay. Mr. Wolf, did you have a question?
Back to 25 wells, how deep?
About 500 feet.
Nice. You drill them yourself or you had
No.
a third party?
No,
But
we
a
hired
third party?
We hired a drilling company.
And an R50 roof?
We have an R50 on the entire roof, including, I converted the metal building. I put ICF walls. I don't like metal buildings.
Okay, I
But
agree.
anyway.
I agree that this is fascinating, but let's focus on the issue at hand.
Sorry.
It's
I
good
am
stuff. This is
actually,
If you're gonna come see, I can show everybody.
but you know, it's twice the length of our normal meeting, and we're not done yet.
And we did put solar on the roof. We have about 310 kilowatt system as well.
Mr. King.
So
Sir, when you store these condensers, you fill up the warehouse first?
Yes.
And then, so the outside would be last?
It's overflow, and we've now got it managed to the back. We had some time where we had it on the sides, and that is over and ended. That's why we put some borders around where we're going to do that. We also have, abiding by the fire code, we've left a fire lane for the fire truck working with the fire department. We have probably a good 800 units on the inside of about half the building. And I put a very large door. We have all electric forklifts. You know, the team moves these things around pretty quickly.
And what kind of problem would it be for you and your business if you were not allowed to store them outside? Or not allowed to have that extra storage, if you will?
One big challenge is not much warehouse available in the area. Certainly in Milford, there's not. We like being in Milford. I think it's worked out well. It'd be a challenge for us.
Attorney Crusaden, is it your opinion that you meet all the requirements of Section 5.8.4.8.1?
Yes.
So Mr. Soda had mentioned elevating the units and/or securing them, and Attorney Crusaden suggested that that might be something considered down the road. But can that be part of this plan now?
It can. I always want to make things good for as many as possible. If that can be done, we can. The other option, I hadn't thought about it, is the ability, but we'd have to work with the town. If we could have a 1 or 2 day to put them in the alleyways of the building during a flood event, that might work. We'd have to do the math on it. If you follow if the 100-year storm is coming, because that's essentially what the flood mitigation is about. They put the panels up, and we have a team and a procedure to do that. An option would be a procedure to move them inside for a day or two temporarily and then put them back out. I hadn't thought of that, actually. But it would have to be, we'd have those fire lane issues within the building. So we'd have to work with the town on that.
I mean, rather than moving them, I think what Mr. Soda was
Is
suggesting
raising
is
them.
elevating
That's
and
also an
securing.
option that we can look into, and I'm wide open to do
And
that.
I like that
Yeah, but with the
direction,
weight-
and hold on, Mr. Soda, I like that direction, and I'm not sure that I'm comfortable approving anything without that fully fleshed out plan.
Okay.
Mr. Soda.
Well, I didn't realize how big the units are. So what'd you say, they're up to 2,000 pounds?
They're really big ones. We have a fewer number of those. Most of them
You
are
would
between
need
5
some-
and 12 tons.
You would need some very big racking to support them.
We probably would.
Keep in mind, however, that a variance goes with the land, and if we approve outdoor storage, it's not always going to be these condensers. So putting in place elevation and a way to secure the items is how we can ensure the safety of any granted variance moving forward.
So Stephen, any warehouse outside storage isn't allowed without a variance?
Any warehouse or business that's in a flood zone that wants outside storage and is not permitted to have it would
Okay,
have to
so the flood
go
zones
down
would
the
trigger
same-
this.
Would have to have this, ask for the same variances.
Okay. Gotcha.
And Mr. Harris, also, this, well, maybe it's a question, maybe I'm just putting it out there, so I'm going to ask you the question. We're not okaying condensers to be stored outside. We're okaying anything to be stored outside by any warehouse that may be in there in the future as well, too, correct?
You saying we're not?
Well, I mean, if we vote with the motion on this, then he can store whatever he wants outside, correct?
No, he's asking to store outside some of his principal use.
Principal
Right, so
use.
Yes.
If I may, I think what Mr. King is asking is if the applicant sells the property and the warehouse starts housing other things, that variance continues and they can store their own principal use outside if we grant this.
If a variance is granted, the next, and Butterfly decides to, I don't know, 10 years go someplace else and somebody else comes in and wants to do the same warehouse type use, that would be an allowed extension of the previous non-conforming warehouse use along with the now recognized outdoor storage of whatever it is that they're warehousing.
Whatever it is that they're warehousing, right. So
Thank you.
If what they're warehousing changes in the future, then what they're allowed to store outside, if this variance is granted, also changes in the future. Okay.
I have another question. Do you, the current warehouse slab, do you know what the elevation is above, what the flood elevation is?
I don't off the top of my head. Ray may have the data, I don't know.
And I'd like to know what the elevation of the parking lot is too. I don't see it on the survey.
Yeah. Westcott and Mapes have done quite a bit of work. And if not, we can certainly do it.
Evening, my name is Raymond Pear, professional engineer in the state of Connecticut. I'm the vice president of Westcott and Mapes and the engineer of record for the civil site plans for this project. The finished floor elevation of the structure on average in that ABD 88 datum, the elevation is 39.75, roughly elevation 40. The flood elevation.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. What's the flood elevation?
Flood elevation in this particular area on the Whippoorwick River is elevation 42.5, so about 2.5 feet.
Oh yeah, almost 3 feet. And
Yeah.
what's the parking lot? Do you know what the parking lot elevation
The
is?
parking lot varies, but that is around elevation 38, 38 and a half.
So that's like 3.5 feet then?
3.5 to 4
Gotcha,
feet
okay.
of water, yes.
All right, thank you.
So, just Madam Chair, briefly, as part of the section 5.8 that was talked about, there is a section for conditions for variances specifically. I think the board can put conditions on variances, whether it's securing the, whatever it might be, whatever would make the board comfortable if they felt like they were in a position to approve this. But this regulation specifically has a section on conditions for the variance that Mr. Savoy, I think if we had time to hash that out a little bit, could agree to, or the board might be satisfied with, for now and the future, whatever the future storage might be.
So when would this plan come? So are you proposing that you'll come up with a plan before we vote, or
Well, I
is this
think-
a future contingent?
I just wanted to raise that with the board. If that was the board's level of comfort, we could discuss and come up with a plan with maybe Mr. Harris. Like I said, would have to pass a site plan application process as well in the future probably. So we could come back, if you kept the hearing open, continued it, we could come back maybe with something that would be some language about securing or elevating or something to that effect.
Okay. How does everyone feel about that? Okay, well, before we make a motion and have a vote on continuing the hearing, let's just run through the other, is there anyone speaking in favor of this application? Is there anyone opposed to this application? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Dennis Brainy. My wife Bridget and I recently purchased the home at 345 North Street, directly across from that gray area there. When the foliage came off, I would agree with the applicants that the building is an eyesore. I'm sorry? Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. I would agree that it is an eyesore. It's not as bad now because there are leaves on the tree, on the trees. And we had our home was built in 1863. We're committed to upgrading, updating, and making the property look a lot better. We've done a lot to it. One of the things we considered was putting a nice expanding the colonial porch, but why spend that kind of money on an improvement to look at what's across the street for 3 or 4 months a year? So when I hear that it's going to be used for material, and now I'm hearing that it's storage units, I was glad to hear that there would be a plan for arborvitae and some sort of landscape screening, but that comes across as never you mind, sometime down the road. We want to move that stuff now. The other thing I'm very concerned about, more so than the aesthetics of it, is the traffic on North Street that has not been mentioned. Not too long after we were moved in and the leaves were gone, about 2 or 3 in the morning, I don't know what the event was at that business, but the entire street was truckers lined up and waiting the next morning. The truckers are actually sleeping in their trucks out on North Street. And 8 or 9 o'clock, whatever it was when the gates opened, it was some sort of an event. And with this capital expenditure and the wanting to grow the business, I'm concerned about the commercial traffic on North Street. There are no commercial traffic controls there. Our driveway, we're right across from that gray area. Our driveway is on Seguin. And to pull out, when there's a truck waiting to go in, for us to pull out on North Street, we're screened from any traffic coming south on North Street. And we usually head out just the back way sometimes. And when I hear expanding the business, and you're a distribution business, for every unit of sale, you have 4 trucks more. Every unit of sale increase, you got 4 more trucks on North Street. You got one delivering the product, entering North Street empty, another one going in empty to pick up the product, and then going back on North Street. For every increased unit of sale, you've got 4 more trucks pulling in and out of North Street. So I'm definitely not in favor of this. If the board chose to approve it, I would hope that they would say before you do anything, those arborvitaes and screening need to go up, and you'd have to have some sort of a traffic plan, because I don't even know if anyone's quantified the number of trucks coming in and out on North Street and what this expanded commercial use of the property would do to the traffic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Heather, oops, this came off. I'm Heather Corrado, and I live at 51 Linda Ann Drive, which is in the back of that property. And I just want to say to start that I'm not necessarily opposed to this, but Al and his property manager, Dana, have been extremely accommodating. I've gotten to know them and been able to call them when things are happening on the property that impact me, because my deck looks right out into that parking lot area where all that storage is outside. So they have been good neighbors and been very polite and accommodating when I've contacted them. So I just want to say that. And speaking of that, I had talked to Al and Dana about a year or a little more than a year ago. He came to my property and looked out, and I said maybe there's some way you could put giant arborvitaes or fencing, privacy fence or something around, and he seemed very open to that, so I was happy to hear that he's, talking about doing that, because it is a residential neighborhood all around that property, and it can be very loud. It's not very nice to look at in the wintertime when the leaves are off the trees and all those condenser units are piled up in the parking lot area. But I understand that's their business. And I just think if he's willing to, and he expressed to me at that time that he was willing to work with the neighborhoods and help us out by putting up some kind of barrier to try to, protect our views and our neighborhood, I think that would go a long way, to help, at least my opinion of this proposal. I think that's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm James Tuberty, 362 North Street. I'm just north of the bridge there. I would ask that you guys put the arborvitaes up on the North Street side and make sure it's, as screened as you can. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, again, if it pleases the chair and the board, maybe we could keep this open. We could discuss
Sure.
planting plan and some other things to secure the storage.
Sure. Yes.
Attorney Crusaden, the other guy was saying about the trucks coming at 3 o'clock in the morning. Is that just a once in occurrence thing, or is that something that happens all the time?
So Al was very upfront with me about that when we first started talking about Stephen's notice of violation letter and how we were going to try to resolve this and bring the property into compliance. And my understanding was that there was a business surge, that would not happen all the time. I don't live across the street. I respect the gentleman's comments. I don't know that, but respectfully to everyone, I mean, it's still, whether there's outdoor storage or not, I think that you're still going to have the truck traffic because it's a warehouse distribution facility since before the zoning regulations came into effect. But I know Mr. Sabloy has been very sensitive to it and has mentioned that to me a few times, that he's trying to figure out the best way to manage that. So
Try to describe it. We pre-bought almost 3,000 HVAC units. And we pre-bought them because they're high efficiency and you can't get them. We needed to get them to our customers in time. We had a surge, and what they said happened did happen. We weren't happy about it. We have truck drivers. We calmed it all down. We have a little bit of a just-in-time model now. We're not buying ahead anymore. So we ended up having literally a couple thousand units show up over a period of, call it 4 to 8 weeks. And then we had to get them out. That's a one-time thing, and I mean that. Balancing this, I think, actually makes it better because we now have a fairly manageable environment. We also have gotten better control of the shippers that were coming in. You know, these shippers, we got much better control. I'd like to believe the last maybe 2 months have been a lot better in a reasonable amount, and I'd love to chat with everybody, and if not, let's go get that done and make sure that it is, because I think we can get better at it. Our business, like it or not, has grown at about 50% a year, and we ended up with a surge. I mentioned it earlier, again, more a one-time thing. I like arborvitaes, just put it aside. I think aesthetics do matter. The place has been an eyesore there for a lot of years. I don't think I can do a fence high enough. When I chatted, I think there's a limit in town, 5 or 6 feet. I think Heather and I had chatted about that. Arborvitaes, I can go in with 8 feet to start, so at least we can get a nice, and I'm totally fine doing it, you know, around all the houses that would appreciate it. I could even communicate with everybody about that. And we would want to do it quickly. I don't want to I don't want to put that off. There's no
I
reason
think,
to do that.
I don't know if it's allowed, but the car dealerships put them up on a berm, you know what I mean? The arborvitaes, so you get a better block.
If we can,
Yeah.
I want to make sure.
I don't know if you can do that in a flood zone.
We meet the flood zone.
Yeah.
There's the whole, yeah, I'll let the team figure that out. But anyway, I just wanted to make that statement. We don't plan on being at the business volumes and truck volumes that we were at for that period of time. That's why we've relegated it to the back, and we're a little bit more just in time in our ordering at this point, with the 5 big, Train, Carrier, Lennox, all the big ones.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I make a motion to keep the hearing open to the July or August meeting, whatever Attorney Crusade needs.
Second.
All right, and a vote, Mr. King?
With the motion?
Mr. Wolf?
With the motion.
Mr. Soto?
With the motion.
Ms. Hirsch?
With the motion.
And I'm with the motion. Hearing continued to next month, or whenever. Thank you. All right, next item, Ms. Hirsch.
43 Tippy Road, MBP 37-/520/131, R10, L. Thompson, owner, to vary section 4.1.4 to 19 feet where 21 permitted to construct front porch, survey by R. Plain, January 2nd, 2023.
Thank you. I'm Lindsay Thompson. I'm the owner of 43 Tippy Road. My husband and I bought that property in 2016, so we've been spending some time there understanding the neighborhood, looked at the aesthetics of the neighborhood, and really fell in love with the Cape style that the house currently is, but with that front porch. It's kind of very similar neighborhoods off of Buckingham Ave, not just on Tippy, but there's the Overhill, Canterbury Lane, and on Welch's Point Road, where they have those front porches. So we're seeking a 2-foot variance in the front to have the stairs placed in front of the door. It's just the aesthetics of the look. Also from the standpoint of, visitors that are coming, delivery drivers, they're coming up that front lawn. The mailbox is on the front of the house, and so, you have your mail carrier that's going, so if we change kind of the footprint of that, they might be walking a little bit more.
Thank you. So to clarify here, you're adding on a porch and the stairs?
So there is a stoop already that's there. So it's taking that same stoop process, but then the stairs are going to be the 2 feet that are further out.
How deep is the stoop? Are you?
3 feet.
Is the porch just staying in line with the end of the stoop and then it's the stairs? Or are we expanding it? I can't quite tell from this plan.
It looks like there's one step.
I have my contractor here with me.
Thank you.
My name's Tom Forty. I live at 300 North Main Street in Wallingford. I'm the contractor. The porch is going to run across the whole front of the house. The stairs are going to start at the front door and come out. I think what he's showing there is 2 stairs. With the zoning today, you could say that's 24 inches, 2 feet.
What? Okay. It was 20, okay. Because this is a projection. So we're not looking for a front yard variance, right, Stephen? It's just a projection variance? Yep, okay. Great. All right, any questions for the applicants? No? Okay.
Yeah, I do. Just so I understand correctly, I'm seeing on that you're looking for the variance from 21 permitted to 19. Are those numbers different on the plan? Is it 21.9 to 20.7? Is that what I'm supposed to be looking at?
That's the most recent survey, so I assume that's accurate.
So you're looking to go to 20 feet, 0.7 on the survey, which is what the survey shows. You're asking for 9 to go to 19.
Bill, that would be because of the steps. That would be because of the steps.
But to the step, it's 21.9 feet on the survey.
Less 2. No, it's 21.9 feet to here. See where the cursor is?
Okay.
So it's 20 feet, .7 from here.
So 19 feet's correct then on that?
It's 19 feet, yes, because these
Okay.
steps go out 2 feet.
Okay, understood.
Okay.
In other words, the steps are the closest projection to the front lot line.
So just to be clear, without the steps, then it's in compliance? It's within the setback? It's not in the setback?
No. That front corner is, what, .3 into the setback? Or, that...
The
but
setback for
that's-
the zone is 21 feet.
So,
For
Without
project-
steps, it's
for-
.3.
For a projection, it's 21 feet.
projection, you're right. So, yeah, if you look at that corner at 20.7, it's, if you took the steps off, it would still be .3. Very negligible. Okay, any questions? Any more questions?
He doesn't show this.
How deep is the porch?
He's
5
showing
foot 10.
5 feet 10 inches.
Okay.
Is there any way to get that .3?
Any way to get it where?
To get the .3, so you're at least not in the setback on the corner?
I mean, reduce the porch by, what, 5 inches, 6 inches, whatever? 5 feet?
No, 5 inches.
Can we reduce it by 5 inches?
I think, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it's possible.
Sure.
Madam Chair, if they reduce the porch back to 21 feet, which would be zoning compliant, the steps would still be out of compliance.
Correct, yes.
I'm just wondering if there's ways to reduce,
I'm just looking, pull back the...
anything that we can reduce, I figure is a good thing.
Pull back the bulk of it. Okay, any other questions for the applicants? All right, is there anyone speaking in favor of this application? Is there anyone opposed to this application? Any more questions? Okay, this hearing is closed. Mr. Soto.
43 Tippy Road, oh, wait a minute, I got the agenda. 43 Tippy Road, I move to approve with the following, I move to approve the request to vary section 4.1.4 to 19 feet where 21 feet permitted to construct front porch, survey by R. Plain, January 2nd, 2023.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second discussion.
Yeah, they're not asking for much here, just give it to them the way it is so they can,
Yeah, it's a projection, which is not nothing, but much less impactful, certainly than a building, building variance. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I know we could, it's 3 inches, we're already projecting out, so, it doesn't seem like it's encroaching that much.
I appreciate your thought on that, though, Mr. King, I will say. Okay, well, no other remarks, then we'll take it to a vote. Mr. King?
With the motion.
Mr. Wolf?
With the motion?
Mr. Soto?
with the motion.
Ms. Hirsch?
With the motion.
I'm with the motion.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Okay, item number 5.
59 Ocean Avenue, MBP 9/125/7, R75, A Masella owner to vary section 3.1.4.1, front yard setback to 4.4 feet where 20 required to construct second floor addition, 6.3.2 for expansion of nonconformity, survey by R Plain, 4/11/2025.
Hi. I'm Amanda Masella. I currently live at 25 Bear Path Court in Cheshire, Connecticut. I purchased 59 Ocean Avenue in December of 2024 with the intention of making it my primary residence. I want to preserve the beachy neighborhood character of the cottage look rather than knock it down and rebuild a new house. I am requesting a zoning variance so that I can add a second story to the existing structure. I understand that I must demonstrate hardship tied to the property in order to be considered for this variance. The house is located in zone R7.5 on a small corner lot and was built in the 1930s, long before the current zoning regulations were in place. The lot is undersized and the house is located too close to the property line, violating the zoning setback on one of the two streets. The existing deck was permitted by the city several years ago, and I can provide documentation of that. This is a pre-existing non-conforming structure, therefore I am requesting the variance that will permit me to add the second story and renovate the front porch. I am not exceeding the existing footprint of the house, and I am maintaining the front porch as an open porch. I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you.
Thank you. So the front porch is currently enclosed?
It is, yes.
You're going to be opening it?
Yes.
So, and you're going up another story?
Yes, but not on top of the porch.
Not on top of the porch?
Correct.
Right. Okay, so where we currently have a front yard setback of whatever we have, that's going to become a projection, correct, Stephen? That'll be an open porch? We have an enclosed porch right up to the, wherever that is. That's, so we're decreasing the front yard setback, maintaining a projection, but decreasing the front yard setback with this plan?
The existing three-season porch, the open porch is a wash. That's not involved.
Well, isn't the three-season porch
It's-
enclosed, so
it's
isn't
the
that
ver-
living space?
It's the vertical expansion of the house.
Right, but the enclosed porch is opening up. So as existing, is that part of the house or is it a projection?
No, that's a projection of the
Oh, it
house.
still is. The
Yeah.
enclosed porch is still
But
open.
it doesn't matter if it's a three-season or if it's an open porch, it's still a porch. So that stays, that
okay.
stays the same. It's-
All right.
Doesn't
However, okay, but aesthetically it is opening up, which is nice, provides.
Yeah, that's fine. They can open it up, they get enclosed, it's still a porch, it's a porch.
Mm-hmm, okay. So we're going up, we're not going out. Not adding any projections, no stairs, no nothing. Okay, any other questions?
You haven't started construction yet, correct?
No, we've just, we got an exploratory permit and just took down some of the walls to kind of assess what we had.
Okay. And you're moving the stairs to the porch, from the porch, right? It looks like they're going...
Just sliding them over, yes.
All right. Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just looking at those plans. Does it look like the new steps will be farther away from the front than what is currently there? Yeah.
Yeah, the plan is to keep them the same footprint, just to slide them over.
It's just sliding to the side.
I'm just by moving them though, I'm wondering if it's farther away from the front property line.
No, I think it's the same.
Okay. All right.
It's the same number of stairs, the same size, it's just being slid over a bit. Yeah.
And just to confirm, you're not expanding the footprint whatsoever, right?
No.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? No, okay. Is there anyone speaking in favor of this application? Well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
My name is James McElroy. I live at 26 Hauser Street, but I actually own 50 Ocean Avenue, which is diagonally across. I took a look at the plans. I happen to be here for something else, and I think it's a
Sir,
great...
could you put that microphone closer?
Sure. I think this would be a great improvement to the neighborhood. There's a lot of renovation going on this time, and I just looked at what she's doing, and I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
That's it.
Hi. My name is Victoria Kovac, and I'm 60 Ocean Avenue, which is directly across the street from 59 Ocean. And I had a question on just what she initially proposed. It looked to me like she was looking for a side variance to 4 feet. Am I incorrect in that? That's what I thought I saw on the plan. Going closer to Glenwood? Is it Glenwood? No.
Well, the footprint isn't changing, so.
Oh, okay. No, that's what it looked like in what we were looking at, so I just wasn't sure.
I mean, it looks on these plans like it is 4.4 feet, but that's existing. And
Oh,
she's
okay.
just going up with it.
Okay, no, I'm all for it. Yeah, thanks, great.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, any other questions for the applicant? Okay, well, this hearing is closed. We'll take a vote. Mr. Soto.
59 Ocean Avenue, I move to approve the request to vary section 3.1.4.1 front yard setback to 4.4 feet where 20 feet required to construct second floor addition, 6.3.2 for expansion of nonconformity, survey by R Plane, 4/11/2025.
Second.
Okay, so we've got a single variance request, 4.4 feet where 20 required, which is actually, we didn't mention it earlier, but this is a corner lot, so we've got 2 front yards. Needing the variance because we're going up a story, not closer to the lot line, but going up. Same footprint. I think it's an improvement opening up that porch. I mean, the front is not in question here. She's within the setback, but well, actually, no, yeah, wait, where am I? Am I looking at the right thing? Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. Anyway, we're just going up, we're not increasing the footprint. I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it too.
I'm okay with the project. She's not expanding the footprint. It looks like this is going to make the neighborhood better. Good luck with your project.
Okay. All right, any other comments? Sorry, all right, we'll take a vote. Mr. King?
With the motion.
Mr. Wolf?
With the motion.
Mr. Soto?
With the motion.
Ms. Hirsch?
With the motion.
And I'm with the motion. Motion passes. Okay. Last item, Ms. Hirsch.
155 Hillside Avenue, MBP 49/795/7 R5. C. Moranti, owner, to vary section 3.1.4.1 northerly side yard setback to 1 foot where 5 feet required, 6.3.2 for expansion of nonconforming structure, all to build a second floor over the existing floor, survey by NJAN Land Survey.
Hi, my name is Raymond Moranti. My primary residence is 5240 Netherland Avenue, Bronx, New York. What do I do? I've never done this before.
Please explain your application, what you're proposing to do, and the hardship that brings you in here today.
The hardship is a narrow lot. I'd like to expand the house so it can become a primary residence and I can make it accessible for my mother in terms of making the bathrooms, the doorways, and her bedroom bigger, and create room for my family and then probably an aide to stay with my mother. That's it essentially.
Okay, so this proposed addition, what we've got here in blue, is any of that currently existing? Is it a single story and we're going up another story, or are we adding the whole thing?
The house was elevated after Sandy.
Okay.
So that's the first floor of the house, and we'd be going up the second floor in that footprint.
On the same footprint, not expanding the footprint. Okay, so it is currently a 2-story dwelling, right? But that portion is a single story?
Yep.
We're going up. Okay. Okay, any questions for the applicant?
And you're not expanding through you, Madam Chair, you're not expanding the footprint of that section that you're adding the second story to?
No, no, we're not.
And also, I mean, the shape of your lot, if those lines were 90 degrees to the front yard, you'd have a lot more room there.
Correct.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant?
Do we know when the existing nonconformity existed, or when that was built? Was that yours, or was that prior?
Years ago. I don't know when exactly. My mom moved into the house in 1980, 81.
So you owned it since 80s?
My mom has owned it, and I've since 1981.
Thank you.
And that addition was there in the 80s?
Yes.
So your back property line is 32 feet across, 32.6, and your front is 40?
But, yeah, what the survey shows.
So you got 8 foot smaller on the back, okay.
Okay, so we're going up a second story. We're not moving it forward. We're not expanding out. We're not going up, back. Okay. All right, great. Any other questions? Anyone speaking in favor of this application?
My name is James McElroy. I live at 26 Hauser Street, Milford, and I'm helping Ray with the design of that house. What we're doing is expanding the second floor so that he and his family can move in with his elderly mom. And this will help us also, I guess he mentioned with the handicap bathroom, and we're gonna put a new elevator because the old one is a lift. That was done by the state when the house was lifted for her. So basically, I don't know if you saw well, he mentioned that we're only going above the existing footprint of that one story portion. We were gonna make the second floor bigger so we can add a bigger bedroom. That's basically it.
Okay. Great. All right, wonderful. Any other questions? Nope, okay, then this hearing is closed. Mr. Soto.
155 Hillside Avenue, I move to approve the request to vary section 3.1.4.1 northerly side yard setback to 1 feet where 5 feet required. 6.3.2 for expansion of non-conforming structure, all to build a second floor over the existing floor. Survey by N. Jane, Land Surveying Services LLC, 12/20/2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Yeah, this is pretty basic. I mean, if you look at the, the backyard's 8 foot narrower than the front yard, so, if those were both the 40 feet, you'd have a lot more room there, we wouldn't have that 1 foot setback, so it is a hardship I see there.
He's not exceeding the footprint. I don't see a problem with it.
Great, any other thoughts? All right, we'll move to a vote. Mr. King?
With the motion?
Mr. Wolf?
With the motion.
Mr. Soto?
With the motion.
Ms. Hirsch?
With the motion.
And I'm with the motion. Motion passes. Thank you.
Good luck with your project.
Okay.
And we haven't hit 9:30 in a long time. Sir, why'd you keep us here this long?
All right, any new business, any old business, any business, any staff updates? All right, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from May?
So moved?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, and what do we have next month? We've got 171 3rd Avenue and 354 North Street.
And three more variance applications.
3 more applications, okay. And so, just so that we're all prepared for next month, 3rd Avenue and North Street, often we will delay a vote, close a hearing, delay a vote. We did not do that this time. The hearing is open, so we will be accepting more comment and conversation.
Yes, as a reminder, Third Avenue has to be not only just, it has to be closed at the end of the next meeting because they don't have any more extensions.
So it has to be voted on? Or no, it has to be closed, but then we can...
You hear it, and then you have to close it. Then you have 65 days to vote,
Got it,
if you don't vote that night.
okay. Right, so if we delay the vote, it would only be for our own consideration. We wouldn't be hearing additional comment in future meetings.
And once
There
it's
would be no
closed,
new paperwork or,
once it's closed, there's no more new information.
right,
So next month is the final shot.
for all information. Yes. Okay, all right, well, motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your efforts here tonight. Thank you.